podcast. This is episode 23. I have my friend Spence here with me today. Super excited about this guest. I met Spence at the A Course in Miracles class, and he had taken over the duties of teaching it and has really changed the way that class is going. I had kind of stopped going because I'd kind of been hearing the same thing like over and over and over, which was cool, and I loved it. The ladies did an amazing job. And I also did the lessons. I was like, that's all you need to do, you're done. You know, like, you just
the
need
whole
to do
thing,
one.
you did them all?
I did them all once,
awesome.
and then I was like, I'm done. I don't ever need to do it again. But yeah, you've done a really good job teaching, man, and I'm super grateful to have you on with me. I just wanted to give a little context to how I got interested in A Course in Miracles. I was just starting my job at Premier. You met my boss. He came in with the client, the long hair.
Right.
It's weird to call him my boss because he's like my best friend too. But I've been reading all these like self-help books. I'd read just tons of them, dude, and I was just hearing kind of the same thing over and over and over. And have you read A Course in Miracles Made Easy by Alan Cohen? You haven't? You're like, I don't want it easy, huh?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want it to influence my experience.
Yeah.
So I kind of have only read just the course. I haven't studied anyone else's material.
That's impressive because I've done everything. I've done the exact opposite.
Really?
Have you? I just got done reading The Other Voice. Have you ever heard about that?
I have read that.
You have read that? I just got done reading that.
Or wait, no. I read Journey Beyond Words or something.
I think
the
Journey
Other Voice
Beyond-
is the next one.
Journey Beyond Words, I think, is for the lessons, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
And
The Other Voice is.
The Other Voice is
text.
for the text. It's like half of it, I think. But I just got done finishing that, and it helped me understand like what you were talking about in class. Like, I was like, hell yeah, like it helped a lot. But, anyways, I there's a part in there where he's doing an interview at a news station, and they're talking about the news, which is terrible. You know, usually just really negative. And then he says, "I reported the only news that I knew, and that was love." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like. So it got me super interested in it, and then we went to the class that was at the park, and it looked to me like we were walking into a church meeting, like with the ladies' haircuts and stuff, and we had face tattoos on our clients, and I was like, they do not want us here, man. Like, right, they don't. We were late, and they were the most welcoming people like I've ever met, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do, you know.
Yeah.
So that was how I got interested in A Course in Miracles. So, I'm glad you're here. My first question is, how did you get into A Course in Miracles?
Okay, so I've been studying David Hawkins now for a few years, and I've been watching his lecture series, and in one of them he talks about how one of the quickest ways to enlightenment is to learn how to shift your perceptions, and it will allow you to drop your belief systems. And he says the best place to do that is Course in Miracles.
Cool.
And so I heard that, and I started Googling and looking around, and we found the class Cynthia and Diane were teaching. And I started attending, and that's what brought me there, was just that. The funny thing is he mentioned it, so I pulled out and I read the book. It took about a week. I read the whole book, and I didn't understand anything in it, and I thought, I gotta find a group that can help me to understand this. And
When did you?
June of 23.
That's when you just started?
Yeah, I just barely. I'm almost at my 2-year mark.
What?
Yeah, I just barely started. So I read it one time all the way through.
Is this real? No way.
Yeah, I'm brand new to the thing. So I went to the class because I couldn't figure it out, and like you said, Cynthia and Diane were there, and the way they did their class just made it so simple and easy to drop right in to the, I don't know, the whole experience was just very inviting. The very same thing as what you shared about your experience. So yeah, we
super loving people, dude. Just like
I've done the lessons one time through, And
my mind is blown right now. Just like now, I don't understand how that is possible. How you?
well, so I
thought you were gonna say like 20 years or something, bro.
oh yeah
At least.
no, I'm fairly new. I found that at one point I just decided that I wanted to go all in and I wanted to understand the book. And everybody tells you don't try to understand the book, and so I pulled it out and I was like, I'm gonna try to understand this book. So I kind of had to hide so that no one knew I was trying to understand the book because I was afraid I'd get in trouble, you know. And I studied it about 5 or 6 hours a day for about 5 months, and then one night I'm laying in bed and I like sat up and I was like, holy crap, I understand this book. And my wife was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, but I understand the book. And the next day I went to class and it was like, I understood what it was saying. It's like it just turned on like a light bulb. And I still struggle in it occasionally, but it's almost like as soon as I dedicated my mind to it, it opened up.
How did you just start teaching? How did you? All my questions are destroyed now, bro.
That's all right. We can answer.
How did you because my cousin, I studied the Tao a little bit for like a year.
Yeah, I know.
I forgot.
I know Jordan.
Yeah, and
yeah,
he was like, come help me. And I'm like, I don't know enough to teach. So I really thought you've been doing this forever, bro. Because the way you teach class, like, and the way you're making it for us to understand and be able to live it in our everyday lives, like I was like, he has to have done this for at least 20 years, 15 years. So, dude, I'm completely blown up. That's so crazy.
I mean, I'm pretty dedicated to it.
I noticed that.
I study every day, and I probably on my short days, I probably put at least 2 hours to read in it, because I want what it has to teach. And funny thing that happens is when you dedicate yourself to the book, it's almost like your life aligns to what it is, and there's so many synchronistic things that are happening, and you're paying attention to what's happening around you, and then you read in your book the next day and it explains exactly what happened to you the day before. That
was one of my questions, is do you ever feel like the lessons or the book is like almost a personal attack on your life? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it feels like, man. Because like, let me look at
attack on the ego.
Yeah.
On the ego,
yeah.
Yeah,
I knew you were
always getting whooped. My ego is like, yeah, that's funny.
I knew you were gonna find that word attack. Good. But like the lesson, where is it?
That's so funny.
God's will for me is perfect happiness. Some days it does not feel like God's will for me is perfect happiness, or I can see peace.
Yeah.
Instead of this, like you get every annoying thing that could be thrown at you when you're doing that lesson that day.
Yeah.
So you get it like literally throws at you the lesson, and then it draws the lesson to you, and you get to work on it that day. I told Kiana, I'm like, this is bullshit sometimes. You know, like this, it's so frustrating.
That's it.
So you've done the lessons one time?
I did them one time, and then this year, so I finished the lessons last year in like October, and then I just messed around so that I was on pace with everyone that starts on January 1st. And it actually has kind of a collective experience, in my opinion, when you're doing them. Yeah. So
I actually somehow, and my buddy that I'm doing them with, we both somehow fell one day behind.
Really?
So we must have done one twice somehow.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, what lesson are you on? He's like, 70. And then I asked Cindy what she was on. She's like, oh, we're on 71. I was like, what? How did me and my buddy both fall behind? But yeah, it's crazy how it brings that to your life, dude.
I usually just catch up on the reviews. If I'm a day behind, I'll do 2 of the reviews.
I planned on doing that, and I was too late. Somehow I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Next reviews. So I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between the Christian Catholic LDS Jesus and the Jesus that is presented to us in A Course in Miracles?
Okay, so the classic dichotomy within Christianity is good versus bad. In Course in Miracles, there is no such thing as bad. There is no such thing as sin. And so within the traditional context of Christianity, we're taught that Jesus paid for our sins. Within Course in Miracles, there's no sin to be paid for. Christ's, what we would have coined as sacrifice, is merely a demonstration, one that is so extreme that it's very memorable. And so the crucifixion is all about forgiveness, versus in a lot of the Christian philosophy, it's all about him sacrificing and suffering because we're all sinners. Whereas in Course in Miracles, his statement, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness in the Course in Miracles is merely thought reversal. So he's actually saying, Father, reverse their thoughts. They don't understand what they're doing. And so, in traditional Christian background, there's this, we need to forgive them. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, and I said, so why do we love those that crucified Christ? And he just looked at me like, we love them, And I was like, yeah, we love them, but why? And it came down to, we love those that crucified the Christ because we're commanded to. So then what happens in these traditional Christian values, we find ourselves loving people because we were commanded to love them. And in a lot of cases, we're loving out of obedience. Whereas Course in Miracles teaches us that there's only love, and anything that is, everything else is the absence of love. So you're either love or the absence of love. So I don't know if that
goes
deep enough.
Like love or a call for love, right?
Yeah, I'll talk forever.
No, you're good.
You gotta stop me. Just start singing the end of Hey Jude, no.
No, that was great, man.
Stop talking.
That's what you're here for, brother.
I could go forever.
Were there any concepts in the Course in Miracles that you struggled with at the start? Like mine, we just kind of talked about this, but I'm not quite exactly sure how it says it, but it's kind of like medicine, all these things are basically magic, right? And it's saying it's basically not needed. So that's a concept I struggled with because I'm bipolar and I really needed the meds. So that was something that kind of turned me off at first from A Course in Miracles. And then also
so it actually talks about specifically, I'm going to pull my book out, but I don't know exactly where that page is, but I think I can find it. Because it talks about how it is a magic pill of sort, but it's completely proper to utilize that medication until your mind is at a position where it can overcome it. So the question or the thought comes to a fully enlightened being is able to heal his body through his mind, so to speak. Now, none of us, I'm not fully enlightened by all means, but I've read the stories of those that have done it. I'm not going to find it right now, but so that concept, when they explained it, it also gives the caveat that, but in the meantime, until you are enlightened or until you hit those high states, use it. Use the magic pill, so to speak. So I'm very I take Excedrin every day. This is a funny thing. Since I was 20 years old, a doctor prescribed me caffeine because I have chronic migraines. And it's funny, every day I wake up and I look at the pills I take and I think, I bet I could stop. And then I feel inside and I already have a little bit of a headache and I'm like, maybe later. I'm just still doing it. I'm gonna do it. I don't want those headaches coming back. So yeah, I still subscribe to the magic pill as well.
Was there ones that you struggled with, like concepts that at the start that?
Yeah, that idea that there is no sin, I was like, how does that work? And when I finally studied into it, it was merely, you know, there's love or the absence of love. Anything that's absent of love would be deemed a sin. For God to validate sin, then it would actually be a real thing. God doesn't validate sin, therefore he only validates that which is loving. So it took me a moment to grasp onto that thing because, you know, we all have had things that have happened to us that didn't feel good, and it sure as hell felt like it was their fault.
Yeah.
And so it took me a moment to recognize that there is no sin, but that recognition came with there is no victim and there's no perpetrator. And so it goes into these conceptual explanations that you almost have to experience them to know what they are, because that release from victim perpetrator is merely comes down to the fact that which we are is a potentiality until the conditions are appropriate, and then it emerges as actuality, but it has everything to do with only my essence of me. The fact that someone else was in the room to allow me to experience more of myself, like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm an angry person and the thing they're doing makes me angry, it has nothing to do with them. I'm just experiencing my own anger.
We were talking about that the last class, right? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, we did.
That was a super cool class. I wrote that down and I forgot to even put it in my questions, but I loved that class. That was great. Okay, where are we going to go? How many years you've been studying? Do you prefer to be a student or teaching?
Teacher. So you cross a spot where you actually experience student and teacher are the same. And so in the aspect of
give and to receive are the same.
Yeah, give and receive are the same.
Is that kind of what you're?
Yeah, student and teacher are the same as well. So
that's cool. That's a good answer.
Yeah, I was really lucky that
that was a trick question. You answered it right.
Did I? Yeah, I really am. I talk to my wife about it all the time. I feel really blessed that I'm able to be the one that's considered the teacher, because I also feel like I'm one of the biggest students by being the teacher. I learned so much as a result of that almost responsibility, and I lean into that, you know, as the how am I going to teach something if I don't know it? So I as student, I approach everything as student, and as student, that makes me the teacher. So I would say, yeah, it was an interesting thing. It took me about 6 months to learn how to be the teacher.
As I said, did you feel a lot of pressure doing that? Because everybody's looking at you like,
yeah,
like I see everybody just like, and I catch myself like, explain this now, you know, like, tell me how to apply this, make it make sense.
Yeah. So I have.
And it's not easy to do sometimes in A Course in Miracles, you know, but you make it super livable, dude, and you completely changed the instruction of that class. And the ladies, like I said, did so great. They did amazing. It's just kind of a different experience, you know. And so, is there pressure when you're doing that?
You know, if I have pressure, then the class doesn't go as well. I think there's a lot of times where I try to read the section we're going to talk about for the day, and it seems like Monday I never get to reading it. It's funny, I have to walk in and I'm always like, I don't have anything prepared at all, and I really have nothing to say, and the moment someone asks a question, the answer appears within me.
That's cool.
So that's why I will say, if you have questions or comments, please bring them out, because otherwise I don't know what to say, because to me, everybody understands it until they ask a question. So the minute they present themselves as student, then I just open my mouth and what comes out comes out.
That's cool. I've seen you, I watched you in my boss brought the clients and stuff. And I seen you look around, you're kind of like, oh shit, you know. I see.
There's a lot of.
I literally watched you like take a deep breath and then just lean into it, and it was super cool. And you killed it that day.
Yeah.
That was cool. The client asked a really cool question.
He did.
Yeah, and that like changed the whole dynamic of it. It was a super cool class that day.
Yeah, it was fun because he asked the question, and I'm obviously masculine in the way that I teach, but having Cynthia chime in with the feminine, and Barb chimed in, and then Dwayne, who's masculine as well, he chimed in.
Dwayne's a man.
Yeah, Dwayne is masculine. Wow, and he hits it, and I was like, that was powerful. And then I watched Cynthia soften it, and then right at the end, I made a little more just to, and I really felt like he got
there's
an
definitely
answer.
been results from that actually. So it was super cool. That was a cool moment in there. And we'll be bringing them on Monday as well.
Oh, good. That's fun.
Yeah, there'll be more on Monday. No pressure.
No. That was. I think we had like 38 people there, and I've suffered from stage fright my whole life. I wasn't able to do groups of 6 or more. If it was under 6, I could do fine, but if it was over 6, I had to hire someone to come in and do my presentations, which is strange.
For what?
Oh, I was before I moved here, I ran businesses and stuff. So if I did a presentation for sales calls or anything like that, I could do up to 6 people, but anything more than that wasn't.
Well, now you're killing it, dude.
Wheelhouse. Yeah, we got a lot of people now, so I had to overcome that.
There is a lot of people there. It's grown, man. Since I first started going there, it's grown a lot. It's cool, and all the clients that come they're like super interested in it. All of them that leave. One came one time. He's like, I didn't hate that. And I was like, cool, man, cool. I love that answer.
That's a good answer.
And he's like, I don't think he likes the word Jesus, Holy Spirit. I think those things turn him off, and they turned me off too at first.
Right.
But the next time he came, I was like, you didn't hate it? He's like, I loved it. And I was like, no way, dude. So they're like wanting to get done with groups so they can go to the class.
Oh yeah.
So they don't have to go to the group anymore. They want to be able to be done and go to the class.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
It's super cool. Let me see. I don't see a lot of people like doing this with their family. Like I see, like Diane, her husband didn't do it. Did you ever know Danae?
No, I know of Danae Paul.
I had her on the podcast as well. That was super cool.
Oh, nice.
But her husband doesn't do it. I don't think he does A Course in Miracles. Like I don't see a lot of people doing it with their significant other or their family. And I see your kid there. That's your daughter that's there, right?
Yeah, I have my 2 daughters come to the class.
Does she think you're crazy, or does she enjoy it?
They think I'm crazy, but they enjoy it.
But I think it's really cool to see you do it with Amber, right? She practices. You practice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, and what is that like to be able to do it with your family?
It's really interesting because we were attending a class that's facilitated by Janelle Reynolds. She's in town. And I was in her class, and she's like, "Oh, a holy."
Does she go to the class?
She does sometimes. She's the lady that sits next to me.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, a holy relationship," and I was like, "I don't know what that is." And so I started studying it, and it is all about that relationship with your spouse and beginning to do the work together. And
Yeah, because I noticed you'll bring up things you guys are working on for the class, and I'm like, dude, that is so cool.
Yeah, Amber, my wife, she's really gotten into it with me, and it's super helpful because we'll ping back and forth, and a lot of the times the shift in perception is going to be tied to the person you associate with the most. And so her and I, we've been working in that now for quite a while, and it's changed our marriage. It's changed us as parents and us as siblings and as sons, and as a son and as a daughter as well to our families.
That's cool, man.
And even my in-laws come
They do?
sometimes to class, yeah. And I
What do they think?
I think they really like it. That when they're in town, they'll come to class, and I would say my relationship with them has gotten better as a result
That's awesome.
of finding some common ground within spirituality.
I love that.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, you're blessed, dude. That's super cool. Do you ever feel like what A Course in Miracles is teaching is unattainable? Have you ever felt like this is it's not doable?
No, it, and if there's a part in there that seems unattainable, I'll just sit with it until I find it. I fall as a student to David Hawkins. He makes it seem like everything's possible in his stuff, and so I've always been very what is the word? I have a lot of ingenuity, so I'm like, I'll figure this out.
That's cool.
And I'll sit with there's times like, so last week we did the introduction to chapter 6, and
then went to the back of the book, right?
yeah, I switched to the back of the book because it had like a really good explanation in chapter 31.
Just that you even know how to do that in like a year, 2 years, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, no. But I spent 3 hours on the first 2 paragraphs because I was like, how am I not seeing? What am I missing in this thing, you know? And then while I was sitting there, it was like, oh, go back to the page about the self-concept in chapter 31. And then I went back and read that. And then I came back to the front and it was like, oh, I got it.
Nice.
But a lot of times I say it, but you just sit there long enough and listen, sitting in a place of uncertainty. I don't know what this is saying, but I want to. And if you sit there long enough, all of a sudden the answer will just magically appear, and there it is.
And do you believe that's the Holy Spirit talking to you?
Yeah,
right? Is that
I do.
Yeah. The Holy Spirit is that voice, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what A Course in Miracles teaches. Dude, I've had moments where I've been sitting here doing my meditation at night, and I'm in a kind of not a great place, and I swear to you, like, excuse me, I'm just sitting there and not in a great place, and asking the Holy Spirit to help me see it differently, and like, I swear to you, I went and told, I was like, you're gonna think I'm crazy. And all of a sudden I just had like these tears release, and I felt like this overwhelming like gratitude for life and just like peace. Yeah. And like tears are coming out of my eyes, and I was like, I can't tell nobody about this. You know, they're gonna think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
And so I went and told her, and she's like, that's beautiful. You know, I think Kiana's actually, she's watching me work on forgiveness with people I've struggled with.
Yeah. And
just even being willing to do that, I think she's like really, she's kind of like wanting to lean in a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people are working on forgiveness like this, and like things like that, and being open to hear, ignore the first 10 answers you get, and then be patient enough to listen to the one that counts, you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah, so what you're describing, my wife and I will do certain work together, and I'll come up with a specific question, and I'll ask the question, and she has an answer. If she has an answer, it's ego.
Yeah.
So I'll ask the same question again. She'll give me an answer, and I'll say something that undoes it. Like, yeah, but that's not entirely true. That could be true of anything. And then she looks at me. I'm all, so why is it this way? And then she answers again and answers again. We've had times where we have 18 answers. And then right at the end when she's like, I guess I don't know. And I'm all, oh, you're sitting at a spot of uncertainty? And she's like, yeah. And I'm all, why don't you ask Spirit? And then she's like, well, then what is it? The next thing out of her mouth is the right answer.
That's so cool, dude. I love that.
And I say right answer is the truth. There's no right or wrong. It's just a truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Knowledge, right? Would that be considered knowledge as well?
Uh-huh.
What the Course in Miracles talks about?
It's when you come into the knowing, yeah, so you speak truth in that moment, but your ego always speaks first and loudest, but Spirit will always answer. So if you think you know, you don't. If you think you have an answer...
Yeah, that's what I was... When you were talking about that last week, we're kind of trained to need to know, to need to always have an answer, to always... And so when I heard you say that, I was like, I don't know is like a beautiful answer.
It's a beautiful
you know, it's like, and that's like completely, a lot of things A Course in Miracles teaches is a 180 of how we've been trained to live, you know, it's crazy. I don't know is usually just not an acceptable answer. You have to have an answer.
Yeah.
You know, so just to get to a point of breaking through the questions of the ego and getting to I don't know is super cool. Because the farther I've gone on this like journey, I've learned that I basically don't know shit. I went through a period where I knew everything,
Yeah.
and then I crashed from that,
Yeah.
you know, and I realized I don't know a fucking thing,
Yeah.
and that's okay, you know. Like it kind of threw me through a loop though, like because this ever kind of made you. It kind of made me go crazy for a while. Like I'd be on these big highs, these big lows, and then at a place of I don't know, and it kind of like
Yeah.
scared me almost. If that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah, we do a thing where we go through what we call an expansion, and we experience the course very powerfully, and then there's this contraction, and when we hit the contraction, it's almost like, what did I do wrong? How did I lose my place in what it is? But that's what it is those expansions are where your body will release endorphins, letting you know that, hey, you're on the right path. So when you find a truth and surrender an old belief system, you'll actually feel it down through your body. And so you get to the point where you're high on life, but they're actually the endorphins that your body's releasing for having dropped those belief systems that are holding you at a place of pain.
Basically hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you release and you feel so good, but then after a time you've moved it all, and then you contract back in, and it's like, that is a gift. The expansion's a gift, but it's meant to reward you so that you want to continue doing it. And the contraction is actually back where you are.
Back to work,
and
right?
You're like, dang it, and you just work back, and each time, as you receive the miracle, or as you receive a truth, it's banked, it's permanent. You have that added to it, but then you go back into that contraction, and yeah, those contractions sometimes they'll drag you down.
For sure.
But that's also motivating. I don't want to feel like this.
Yeah, let's get out of it.
Yeah, I gotta get out of this one. Right? Yeah.
How has forgiveness changed since you've been practicing? How's your view on forgiveness, or how has it just all around changed for you?
So the hardest part for me was in forgiveness, I wanted the other person to apologize. Okay, well, that's not how forgiveness works. Like, I was always upset. Like, I'd be like, well, you need to apologize to me. Like, and it's hard to forgive you if you don't apologize. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is reversal of thought. And when you actually reverse your thoughts, you understand that they didn't do anything, so there's nothing for them to apologize for. So there's responsibility, accountability, and merely just an acknowledgement. So at the beginning, I'm a person that takes responsibility. So in business, when people would come and be like, hey, I made a mistake, it's my bad, I would look at them and say, yeah, when I apologize, I bring my checkbook. Because I lost money.
Yeah.
Give me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's responsibility. So when I was apologizing, I would bring my checkbook. I'm sorry I did this. I saw you lost $500. Here's the money with my apology. But shifting into accountability. Accountability is you're driving your car, you turn right and you knock someone with your mirror and they're hurt, but I didn't do anything on purpose, but I'm still accountable for them being harmed. So there's accountability. What it came down to was just acknowledging what it is. So acknowledgement was the allowing. When we shifted to acknowledgement instead of responsibility and accountability, in my relationship, it made it so that it was a safe place for my wife and I to both be like, hey, I can acknowledge that you're hurt, but also I acknowledge that I didn't do anything. Now, on the other side of things, if I'm doing something and I know that I did it, all that's required is an honest regret. I don't need to go and pay contrition or do the repentance process of doing anything. All I have to do is experience a position of honest regret. And that's one that in the Christian faith they disagree with.
Yeah.
So what'll happen here is the way the course works is there's two people. One person's supposed to experience the getting kicked, and the other person is supposed to experience the giving a kick. So if I kick somebody and harm them in some way, that's their experience. It has nothing to do with me. So I work merely on my side of honest regret of having kicked and their experience of being kicked. So what they'll do is they'll actually experience it and say, I didn't enjoy being kicked, so I would never kick anyone. That's forgiveness. And on my side, I saw that I kicked that person and harmed them. I don't want to harm them, so I reversed my thoughts. But the world is merely an illusion if you get stuck in the minutia of, oh, poor me, I'm a horrible soul, please forgive me. You're not going to get anywhere.
Guilt?
Yeah,
shame?
Yeah, there's no such thing. Guilt and shame are paralyzing. You want to switch out your guilt and shame for regret and remorse. And those two you can work with. Guilt and shame, you'll get stuck.
Yeah. I know a lot about that. Like after the life I lived doing drugs and just the things that came along with it that I ended up getting into. For like the first 2 years of being sober, I had tons of guilt and shame, dude. And A Course in Miracles literally taught me that it's not serving you, it's not serving them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to hold on to it. And it, like, literally changed my life. It was insane. Beautiful, man. Like, yeah, love A Course in Miracles. If you could summarize the heart and soul of A Course in Miracles, what would you say?
Summarize the heart and soul. Well, it's going to come back to, it is forgiveness. Forgiveness and salvation are synonymous. If you can forgive those around you and forgive your own self, that is the epitome of salvation, which salvation arrives at a form of unconditional love. If you can achieve forgiveness, you've achieved salvation, and salvation is merely to walk through life non-judgmental. And to be non-judgmental is also to have completely relinquished on self-rejection as well. That which we judge outside of ourselves is actually a judgment from within,
Yeah.
So salvation...
when you attack someone, you're attacking yourself, right? That's
right, yeah. So Jesus Christ taught the pathway of salvation. The Buddha taught the pathway of enlightenment. And the difference is salvation is the process of arriving at unconditional love. Now, this book pushes just a little bit past salvation into the way of the no mind, and it begins to release your belief systems as well. But it's using that technique to arrive at the exiting judgment. That is salvation. Yeah.
Love it, dude.
That's how I do it. That's it.
Do you have any advice for someone who is thinking about starting or someone that just started practicing A Course in Miracles?
I think it's important if you can find a group. I think the group is really helpful. I think that being in the presence of others that are studying the book, there's this concept of everything in life is a frequency and an energy, or a vibrational frequency. If you get in the room with two people that have the same belief, the amplitude spreads out and the wave goes higher. This is a funny explanation, but the wavelength of the frequency at which you're studying, if you get more than one person, the wave goes a little bit higher because we actually grab into each other. So that is the process of extension and expansion. So God's love is like us lighting a candle. So I have light on my candle. If I light your candle, mine doesn't burn halfway now. I light yours and now we have two candles. If we put them together, that flame goes just a little bit higher. So I recommend doing a group if you can find one. But I also have friends in Salt Lake that have been hearing me talk about it, and ours is the only group in Utah.
Is it really?
Yeah. We've been looking.
Put the cats up,
Huh?
We should have put the cats. I should have
No, they're fine. I don't like
That's great. There's not one up north?
No, we tracked it down, and the lady's gone. She doesn't respond to any of the phone calls. We've been on the website looking for it, but yeah,
That's crazy.
I thought there'd be 5 groups in Salt Lake, but we're the only one in Utah right now, from what I've found.
So we're by far the best one in Utah.
Absolutely, yeah. And if I'm wrong, I would love to have someone reach out and tell us that there's other classes. But yeah, I think the group was really helpful.
Awesome, man. Is there anything else you wanna say?
No, I don't know. I talk all day. I love the course. So I think the thing that I've found mostly through Course in Miracles is that which I think I know I don't. And the less I know, the happier I am.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like peace of mind. I don't want to be thinking of anything. I was driving here with my wife, and I was like, I have the funniest thoughts that come into my head, and they make no sense at all. Like, so I joke about this in class every now and then, but I talk about how I'm just gonna start saying my thoughts out loud, you know. And I wanted her to look at me like, why would you think that, right? So I'm driving along, and I see this guy jogging. I'm all, ooh, I'm wearing my tight shirt while I'm jogging, and I look at me like, what do you think? Do you know that guy? No, I don't. But that thought came into my head, you know, and it was like, wow, I don't want to have that thought.
Our thoughts are wild, dude.
Yeah.
Thoughts are nuts.
So now when I see people jogging, I think, that's really good. He's exercising. I bet he feels great at the end of his jog, you know.
That's so funny, because I have literally worked on the exact same thing. Like, I see people doing something, and I, like, will think something, and I've been literally like, oh, I'm so proud of them for, like, for getting out, you know. If that was me, I would want somebody to be nice to me.
Yeah.
You know, think nice thoughts about me.
I send love now.
Yeah,
I send love. I'm telling you what, man. In the beginning, this is like right when I first started practicing it, and I was like, I can't believe that was my thought. But yeah, they just come out of nowhere.
How many times do you choose again a day?
Oh, choose again a day. I do it all day. I can't even put a number on that.
It's a lot, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Choose again is like when you're just thinking or acting a certain way in A Course in Miracles. We're just taught to just choose again. Just choose again.
Yeah.
And eventually you get to
Any time in your body that you choose something that's absent of love, the meridians will go weak in your body. It's that whole muscle testing by John Diamond. He wrote a book about The Body Never Lies, I think is the name of the book. And it talks about how a negative thought within you will actually make the muscles go weak. It's like half of a second of weakness, but it makes your body go weak. And you can attune your mind to recognize when your body goes weak. And if it goes weak, that's the moment to choose again.
well, I've noticed like when I'm depressed or just negative, I'm more tired. And when you're in a good place, you're more vibrant and like more energy. So that makes perfect sense right there.
Yeah, I find myself doing it all the time. And I mean, we do property management, so we're dealing with all sorts of interesting scenarios. And so anytime I had a lady, for example, just the other day we hired a lady to clean one of the houses. She gave us one price, and then as she finished, she raised it almost 50%. And I was like, well, we're not going to do that. You gave me a price, that's the end of it. Pow. And then I was like, well, that didn't feel right. Ask her why she wants to charge me more money. And her response didn't do it. I'm going to have her give me a detail as to why she wants me to pay more money. And then the actual thing was, pay her what she's asking. And instead of even asking her the question. So the gal that works with me, my office manager, she went to pay her, and the lady's all, do you know what? Only make it $300 and we'll call it good. Her bid was $250. She asked for $400. She made it $300 at the end of the day, but I didn't have to demand that she do anything more than we'll pay you what you're asking. And then she met us at fair. I think that had I gone in there guns blazing, like, I'm not paying you, you made this thing, I would have ended up paying $400.
Yeah, for sure.
But by doing
that's kind of like an example of, like, do you want to be right or happy, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? And you chose to just be happy right there.
I always think, what if being right makes me happy?
It probably does sometimes.
Yeah,
no, that was ego. Choose again.
It was ego. It never works out that way.
Choose again. How do you make him choose again? Make him do it.
Every time I'm right, dang it. That's fun.
Right on, brother. I appreciate having you on, dude.
Yeah, it's
You're
fun.
the man. I'm so grateful you came over. I'm grateful to get to know both of you. Amber, you're amazing too. This has been super cool. The class is great. And it's growing, bro. We're gonna need a bigger building soon. We're gonna be like at the college or something.
We'll just add a class.
At the basketball where they play games, we're gonna be like the college football stadium, dude.
That's funny. We'll add a Wednesday or something. I think it'd be fun to mix it up. But.
If you ever want to teach it at my work, you're more than welcome to. It's something you can think about. There's groups Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not Friday, excuse me, just Monday through Thursday. But yeah, if that's something you ever want to, I know my work is super interested in. Of course, they love it. Like my boss loves it.
They want us to maybe teach a class at your
place. If you would ever be interested in doing that. But yeah, I'm super grateful for you. Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's fun. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, brother. Subscribe, like, follow. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. Course in Miracles rocks. You should all do it if you want. Love you guys. Thank you.